Hello everybody, this is Bear Bros, and today I'm going to be introducing you to our brand new series called the Jungle Man. So in this series I'm basically going to be showing you how to jungle with unconventional junglers on League of Legends. So in this episode I'm going to be covering Fizz, who is an extremely mobile champion who can, thanks to his Q and his E, go from one spot to another in an extremely quick time. He's also extremely fun to play with, and you can have some very fun moments with him. So I'm going to start off with Fizz's build. So at the beginning of the game you're going to want to buy cloth armor and 5 health potions. Now what this is going to do is it's going to grant you survivability in the jungle, because Fizz doesn't really clear the jungle very quickly. He's more one of those champions who's good at ganking. So once you've bought that, after your first gank or whenever you back, I'd advise you to buy Madrid's razors, and then if you have enough gold, buy boots of speed, and then if you don't have enough gold to buy boots of speed, then buy that afterwards. Then you're gonna wanna have to buy Wriggle's lantern, and then after that, I'd advise you to rush Sheen. Now, why Sheen? Sheen is one of those items that's extremely viable on junglers that are hybrid, which means that they use AP and AD. Now, Fizz is one of those junglers, well, at least the way I'm going to be playing him. So once you've got your Wriggle's Lantern, your Sheen, you're also going to want to be buying Mercury Treads. So those 3 items are really Fizz's core items. Now, after those items, I'd advise you to go with Trinity Force. Now, this builds Fizz into an all-rounder, which I'd highly recommend. So, after that, it's really up to you how you want to play Fizz. So, if you want to play a more AP, then I'd advise getting Rabadon's Death Cap, and then maybe Riley's Crystal Scepter to get extra slows. But personally, I think that the slow on Trinity Force is enough. And then if you want to play more attack damage or tanky, then I'd advise items like Frozen Mallet or maybe even Infinity Edge. Alright, so now I'm going to be covering Fizz's different jungle paths. So I'd highly recommend 2. So the first one is Path A. In this one you start at Blue Golem, and you'd ideally get a pull from mid, top or bot lane. Then you'd move on to Wolves. Then you'd clear the Wraith camp. Then when your smite is up, go to Red. Then go to Golems, and then to finish up you go to Wraiths again to clear that camp. So at this point you should be level 4, and I'd highly recommend you to gank mid, although you can also gank top or bot. So then we've also got Path B. In this one you start Wolves, then you go into blue, and then you do a quick gank at either top or mid if you're on the blue side, or bot or mid if you're on the purple side. So now I'm going to cover the different advantages and disadvantages with these 2 paths. So for path A, the advantage is that it's a very safe and secure path, which means that if you see that you're getting invaded, then you can invade the enemy camp, and then if it's a normal game, then you're not really going to lose any of your main jungling creeps. But the downside is that when you gank mid, it's not an assured kill or whatever, unless you have a high CC mid. So the advantages for the path B is that because it's an early gank, the top or mid lane or bot lane isn't really expecting you to gank, and so this can almost always assure you a kill. But the downside to this is it's much more risky, as for the time that it takes you to gank from the blue golem to one of the lanes, the enemy jungler can easily see this, and so he can invade your jungle and take your red buff. Although this isn't going to happen very often, it still can happen, and so that's why I think it's more risky, even though it can assure you a kill. So now I'm going to show you Fizz's different spells. So first up you've got his Q, which is called Urchin Strike. And basically what this does is it dashes Fizz to an enemy target, which can either be a minion or a champion. Although you can't dash to an ally or an allied minion or a ward or anything like that. So basically it does a set amount of damage. So in this case it's plus 10, and it scales off AP. And then in addition to that, it adds on a normal attack damage hit. So let's say that your attack damage is at 90, then it will do 10 plus 24 if you have 40 AP, plus the 90. So let me just show you an example of this. Now if the enemy is far and you click on it, then he'll go there and then he'll leap like that, as you can see. But I'm just going to wait for the cooldown to go down. But if you're next to a target, so I'm just going to get close to him, So if you're already close to him and you use it, then it will directly go through him. Like, alright, so his next spell is the Sea Stone Trident. So basically what this does is there are two modes to it. So there's the passive, which is active at all times if you've unlocked it. And so what that does is it deals extra damage, which scales off your AP. And this is dealt not only to champions but also to minions, although it caps at 300 versus minions. And then you've also got the active, which basically if you click on your W, then it will activate it. And for 5 seconds what it does is it does even more damage, which scales off AP. And on top of that, um, it reduces the incoming healing by 50%. So what that means is that let's say that I use it on Ezreal here, and who has lifesteal of like 50%. Well then, if he then attacks me, he won't have 50% anymore of lifesteal, he'll have 25. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like. So it makes the trident bluish purple, and so it applies a little symbol on top, which kind of looks like Ignite. Alright, so his next ability, which is his E, is called Playful Trickster. So this comes in two parts, the first one being Playful and the second one being Trickster. So for Playful, what happens is Fizz hops onto his trident, and for a short period of time, you can't target him, and he can't take any damage. So this can range anything from Mundo's Hatchet to Karthus' ultimate. And when he lands back on the ground, he'll do a set amount of damage, which will scale off AP, and he'll slow targets around him for 40% and for 2 seconds. So the second part of this ability is called Trickster, and so when you're on your trident and you click E again, then he'll move to that place where your cursor is found, but it has to be found in this small radius, and he'll also do 70 damage, and it will scale off AP. So I'll show you here. So this is Playful, and that's Trickster. As you can see, teleported to that spot. So as I said before, wait, I just need to wait for the cooldown to go down. So yeah, as I said before, this can block any attack from Mundo's Hatchet to like Karthus' ultimate, or really anything. So I'll show you here. So as you see, I leaped over his Hatchet and I don't take any damage. Alright, so last but not least, we've got Fizz's ultimate, which is called Chum the Waters. And so basically what happens here is Fizz will throw a shark at a target. So it looks like this, and it has quite a large range on it. So it does a set amount of damage and scales off AP, and it will knock back any enemy champions or minions that it hits, and apart from that, it will reduce their movement speeds by 50% for 1.5 seconds. So I'll show you this ability right here. So I'll throw the shark, and it will target Mundo, and then it knocks him back. Alright, so next we've got Fizz's passive called Nimble Fighter. So what this allows him to do is to ignore unit collision. So what this means is if I go next to a minion or a champion, I'll go past them as if there was nothing. In addition to that, he takes less physical damage on basic attacks. Alright, so now moving on to his runes. So for Fizz Jungle, I would highly recommend these runes here. this means that in quintessences I'd get greater quintessence of strength, so this provides you an additional 2.25 attack damage. So times 3 this makes 6.8 attack damage. And then in marks I would get greater mark of desolation, so this gives you 1.66 armor penetration per rune, which means that you'll get 15 armor penetration in total. So then in seals I'd recommend you guys to get greater seal of resilience. This gives you 1.41 armor, and so in total this gives you 13 armor. And then finally for the glyphs, I'm not 100% sure what you should get, but because I haven't got any magic resistance with the other runes, I decided to go with greater glimpse of shielding, although this probably isn't the best of choices, and I would probably recommend cooldown reduction runes over that. Alright, so for his masteries I would go with a 0.21.9, and I would take these masteries here, so you can pause the video if you want to look at which ones I've chosen. Alright, so now I'm going to be moving on to the last part of the video, where I basically give my final verdict on Fizz jungle, which is in other words his pros and cons. So first up we've got his pros. So he can provide excellent ganks to lanes, he can escape easily from most situations, he has a high mobility thanks to his Q and his E, and he's extremely fun to play with. So now we've got his cons. So unfortunately he's very squishy, especially at level 1. And I know that most champions are squishy at level 1, but he's particularly squishy when compared to other junglers, because he's actually supposed to be played mid lane. So he also uses a lot of mana, and he also needs kills himself, which means that when you compare him to, for example, a Mumu, who can easily provide ganks to lanes, and then leave the kill to the AD carry mid lane or top lane, Fizz can't really do this because he needs the kills himself to do stuff in teamfights, because sure, he can throw down his ultimate and create a bit of area of effect damage in teamfights thanks to his E, but at the end of the day, if he's not fed, then he's not going to be able to do anything. Alright, well I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time.